So I think the big ones that people are upset about are the Soul Beast changes. I should really have notes out. And then what else? They're mad about Herald, Quickness Herald, which who cares? Herald has been notoriously overpowered whenever they do anything to help it, so it being weak on launch is definitely by design. Um, yeah, this is. I mean, like, I just don't. I don't think anyone plays enough Herald to actually understand how this is gonna feel. So we just have to wait. Like, I don't understand why people aren't waiting to figure out how this stuff's gonna feel before saying it's shit. PvP changes. Don't understand anything about the thief changes. Uh, Banners. People are mad at this, but it's just like it's a design philosophy that like if you put the ability to support with a boon like quickness or alacrity in core traits, right? This is core warrior skills that are this banners that are applying boons like fury, resistance, might, regen, as well as quickness to allies. Like they put it in a core part of the spec of the profession, and so if they put this in the core part of the profession, then they have to make it suck. Like it has to be bad, or they can't ever have the warrior elite specs do anything ever for the rest of eternity. So like it's an option for people to play, but if people are like complaining that it's not good, it's like yeah, that's on purpose. It's supposed to be sub meta. Like you can play this if you want to, and you don't want to gear a whole nother character. You can learn how to do banners and play that with your friends instead of having to switch to Firebrand, which you don't enjoy or don't want to play or don't have time to level or gear or something. So it's like actual insanity that people care if this is strong or not. That's not what it's about. It's about having the option to play it. Banner changes. People are mad about this, but again, we have to see how it feels in the current state of the game. I think commenting on like I know people are like, "Oh, this is how banners used to be," but it's like just wait. Can we wait until the patch launches to fucking roast everybody? Some people, the answer to that is no, apparently. World vs. World, PvP changes, Signet of Rage changes. This is the one everyone's mad about, which doesn't make any sense, right? Because if we go into the game and we look at Warrior, like, people are mad about this because they just don't understand this game in any other context than group instance content. And so it's like, they're like, oh no, arms. It's a Condi trait line. I can't believe they put Fury in arms, like a Fury related buff in arms. And it's like, but if you go to arms and you look, like the first minor trait of the arms trait line is Furious Burst, which using a burst skill grants you Fury. Like you don't get Fury from like everyone's like,
My
oh, you
time
should
is
have put it on
precious.
Discipline. Like Fury does not. It doesn't even exist in the straight line. Like it's such a design flaw to put anything related to Fury here because anyone who's not in group instance content can't use it because if we look at like the elite spec, like if we go to Zerker here and we look like where are you getting Fury from on Warrior? Like you can get it from Wild Blow and you can get it from Four Great Justice, and that's literally it. Like you can't get it anywhere else. Like there's Fury's so hard to get on this class by yourself that like if you're playing anything but instance group content, it being in discipline is like actually useless. Like, because you're never like, you don't really want to take 4 Great Justice if you're not buffing other people. It's just not that strong a skill, and so it's just insane to me that this is the like this is where we're at in the game. Like, if something is like, it's not even negatively impacting instance group content, because like 5% crit chance, like if we go back to the changes, 5% crit chance is literally nothing. Like, it's so irrelevant to the vast majority of players, and even the players that it's relevant to, like, stop crying, like, go buy some precision food, like, take some different gear. Like, it's such an easy fix, and it's so crazy that people are upset about this. Like, ugh, it's so bad. It's so bad. Like, everyone's like freaking out over this change and being like, oh, the developers don't know what they're doing. No, it's like top players are so biased that they just don't understand design principles at all. Like, zero understanding, zero comprehension. And it's the same with these LE changes. Like, if we go, I think the LE changes are up at the top. Let's find them. Yeah, these elementalist changes. They're like freaking out about this one, like the Zephyr speed. Now additionally grants crit chance while attuned to air, but like look at the air, like just look at the game. Like, everyone's like critiquing this based off of their like meta builds from Snow Crows, and they just like are refusing to look at the game and how most people are playing it, right? Like, when you're playing through Guild Wars 2, like, when you're playing through Guild Wars 2, like, you're not playing these meta builds, and like having crit chance in air is a like is it's what air is about, right? Like, adding this here, like, if we look, like, air gives fury, like, it gives ferocity. Like, this trait is all about, like, this trait line is all about crits, and so it's like, look, more fury, gain ferocity, like, right, like, it's just, and then fresh air. Like, when you attune to air, your focus is critting, and for people playing the core game, this is a huge buff to them, right? Like, it makes this trait line make so much sense, right? When you're in air, your goal is to crit, right? And so, because when you're leveling, right, you're never crit capped. Like, crit capping in this game is something you do when you're max level and you've got perfect gear. That's when you crit cap. At any other point when you're playing this game, you're never crit capped. So getting more crit chance is good for your damage output. And when you're playing this air build, right, like, having more crit based on fury here, when you're granting your fury, like, when you're granting auras, right, like, it's just, it makes so much sense. And the fact that people are like telling designers that they just don't know what they're doing, when it's so clear to me that these top players just like can't see past like balancing for like hardcore end game instance group content. And it's like, the number of people who are playing that stuff and care about your top level DPS in that content is so negligible that any designer who legitimately was concerned about how that plays is just bad at their job, right? Like, any ANA employee who's like, oh, well, this change benefits 99% of our players, but the 1% at the top are going to be pissed because it reduces their damage by like 2k on the highest levels. It's like, that's such an easy decision for them to make, and they should be totally okay with upsetting that group of players in order to make the game better for everybody else. Like, it's so ridiculous that people are upset about this change, and they're constantly framing every single change through the lens of instance group content, and it's so stupid. Like, this game isn't about endgame instance group content. The most popular first raid boss killed is Veil Guardian, and on Guild Wars 2 efficiency, it's got like 30% of people have the achievement for killing Veil Guardian. And it's like, you guys, like, people are not playing this content as much as you think they are, and it's not the core content of Guild Wars 2. Like, I'm in the core content of Guild Wars 2 right now. It's open world and story. Like, this is the core content of Guild Wars 2, and like they have to make design decisions and balance decisions based on multiple criteria, and they can't just constantly be babysitting the end game scene. And like the amount of outrage that's like come from these changes is ludicrous. It's just so insane. And people are like, "Oh, it wasn't us. It wasn't the streamers who did this." But it's like you guys spent the entire day roasting the devs and telling everyone in the community that they don't know what they're doing and that this is the worst change to Guild Wars 2 you've ever seen. And then people get outraged and you're like, "Oh, people are being mean to yeah, people are being mean to the devs because you guys wanted them to be mean to the devs." It's like it's so psycho. It's like the lack of understanding of your influence is crazy. It's so crazy. Like, please do better. And it's just like, please read the changes and understand that balance isn't about just endgame instance group content, right? Like, when I go and I play and I want to do Fury stuff, right, in air, having extra crit chance here is fun for open world play. Like, it's just a good change, right? If you're gonna add Fury related buffs or crit chance related buffs into anywhere on LA, putting it in air is fine. And people are like, "Oh, but like it's so weird that it's only on air attunement." It's like, yeah, because that's how air attunement works. Like, learn the design philosophies before you critique them. Like, fresh air Ellie is a real thing that exists in this game. It's so crazy. People are so crazy. Actual psychopaths.
Let's have some fun.
Anyway, I'm gonna die if I stay here.
Fury rising. Gearing down.
Oops, any condition. Any confusion. Wow, I'm in air attunement.
Tick.
I care about Fury and critting. Wow, imagine. What a concept. And then the other thing people are mad about with Elementalists is that they decided that if you're providing boons, you can't do infinite damage on top of that, and people are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they just put a 10% damage nerf on Catalyst." It's like, yeah, like, let's stop pretending like their numbers didn't tell them that Catalyst was overperforming by more than 10% when it was providing quickness. Like, people are so psychotic. Like, they just don't understand a single thing about development and balance, and it's so clear to me that like this game just is so desperate for people who actually like understand and respect like game design and like who are like responsible with the influence they have and understand their lack of knowledge. Like, it's just so clear that these people just lack critical knowledge when it comes to like development, and they think their ideas are super good when they're not, and it's just insane to me. It's just insane. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, leave the devs alone. Like, you couldn't do their job in a million years, and it's anyone who's smart knows that if you don't have experience in game design, you're gonna suffer and struggle, and you're gonna make your game bad because you're gonna make stupid changes that hurt so many people based on your biases. And it's actually insane that people in this community think that they'd be better devs than the devs. Like, people who like just are giving opinions that are clearly wrong about the game, like just clearly biased and clearly wrong about what's good for the game and what affects normal players, and they think their opinions are great, and it's just like the Twilight Zone. Like, it's so bad. Right? Like, and if we look at the Soul Beast changes too, like, where are these Ranger changes? Are they up here? I think they're up higher. No. Like, they're giving alacrity to core Ranger. Like, it's the same philosophy as with Warrior, right? If you want the alacrity to be good, you have to bring these other specs to the appropriate level of power, right? So they're nerfing Soul Beast not because they want to nerf Soul Beast as a damage spec. It's because they want you to be able to like interact with these new spirit changes, which is a core ranger ability, right? Core rangers have the option to run these spirits now, and so you can't have a DPS spec that can provide 100% uptime on alacrity also be doing like insane burst damage and carrying like it. Like people are like, oh man, why are they nerfing Soul Beast? They're not nerfing Soul Beast in isolation. They're nerfing Soul Beast in response to giving them access to insane boons, right? And the uptime, it's not hard to get uptime on these. Like these last forever. The like it's just people just don't know what they're talking about, and it's funny. It'd be funny if it weren't leading to people being harassed. It would be funny. These changes are great. The centaur, all the centaur changes are great. And it goes back to that core philosophy. Like they're removing alacrity from salvation, right? This no longer causes natural harm to grant alacrity, but this is because they're adding quickness to Herald, and this is bad because it has to be because Herald is tricky. It's got so many little quirks to it that allow it to just like do weird shit. Like it just it's constantly overpowered when they change it, and so they have to make it bad at the beginning just to see. And again, it's just an option to play. Like you have an option to provide quickness uptime on Revenant, right? That is a new option that you didn't have before that you now have with Herald. And it doesn't have to be perfect for it to be something you can do and for like regular normal not 10k hour Andes to play. It's just it's so crazy that people think that everything has to be on par with heal alacrity mech in order to be playable. Like that's not how this content works. Like you can go into any content with any build and succeed if you're good at the game. And even if you're not good at the game, if you have experience on that class, you're going to do better with it than if you play the meta builds. I've seen even people with 5k, 15, 20k hours play heal alacrity mech, and they're just really bad at it because they've been told it's OP and that it's easy, and they go in and their might uptime's terrible, they're not healing anyone, and they're not doing any damage. And it's just like, play what you're good at. Stop caring about what's meta. It literally doesn't matter. Everyone's crying about these warrior changes. They're like, warrior's already so bad. It's like, no, it's not. Like, warrior bench is so high. Like, the bench is beyond anything you'd ever need for any content in this game, ever. Just play the game. Like, stop harassing devs. Just play the game. Just play the game. Ugh. Just play the game, please. Please, for the love of everything, play the game instead of crying about changes that don't affect you. So many people who the changes will not affect. People who have never seen a 40k benchmark ever in their life and couldn't, probably haven't even seen a 35k benchmark, complaining about changes that will drop the benchmark by 2k. And it's like, this will not affect you. This will not affect you. Get better at the game. That's your best bet. Like, if you want to get that 2k damage back, actually get within 10% of 100% of the benchmark. Like, actually get to 90th percentile on the benchmark, and maybe then you might care about these changes, and you really won't. You really won't care. You really won't care because all the content dies if you do 15k plus damage on any boss. So it's literally useless to care about these changes. They don't affect you, and people are pretending like it's ruining the game, and it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Anyway, my rant is over.